good version, because this, and every time I watch videos about the Bhagavad Gita, they always recommend this one anyway, Ek Nath Ishwaran. And the reason this is a really good version is because each of the chapters, he does an overview of what the chapter means before you then read the Gita, because the Gita is in verses. And even though this is obviously translated and it's written in English, it's still, it becomes quite difficult, especially when you get to the last of the chapters. It becomes almost overwhelming to understand. So the Gita. So the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, is referred to as the Song of the Lord. I'm just going to mute everybody. There we go. So mute all. There we go. And in order to understand the Bhagavad Gita, you have to understand the context in which the Bhagavad Gita is written. And it is a part of a thing called the Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata is a great epic. And it's to do with from 5,000 years ago in India, and it's about a family that breaks up and wars against each other. Is the easiest way to describe it, and it involves the whole country, the entire country of India by the time the battle comes about. So, and to give you the context of the length of the Mahabharata in which the Bhagavad Gita is in, the Mahabharata is 15 times longer than the Bible. And if you're going to read the Mahabharata, continuously recite it, because it's a poem, it's in verses, 1.8 million words. And if you're going to read it continually, it would take you 2 weeks to read it. So this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Mahabharata. As you can imagine, what I'm able to tell you now, you need to go and research it yourself, because it is incredible. So I think the best way to start is just to lie down for a moment, so I can give you a little bit of background as to where the Gita falls into this. And it's going to be very quick. I'm not going to tell you massive amounts, because we're going to get into our poses, we're going to get into our pranayama, and then we are going to do a bit of a warm-up, and then I will dip into it and I will read some of the verses. So just find yourself a nice comfortable position in which to lie down, just so I can kind of like give you the context in which the Gita is in. So find a position that is right for you. Lie down, place your hands on your belly, or widen your feet, let your knees come together, or you can lie with your feet out straight. It's up to you, whatever's going to feel comfortable for you. So the Gita is referred to as the Song of the Lord, because the Gita basically is a conversation. It's a discussion between a warrior called Arjuna, or in India they call him Arjun, and Krishna. And Krishna is his cousin, but Krishna is actually an avatar, and an avatar is the embodiment of God on earth. So that is the conversation of the Gita, is between Krishna, who's the one who's going to do or give Arjuna all the answers, and Arjuna, who's about to go into battle. And the actual conversation itself takes place on a battlefield of these two families that are about to go to war. Well, one family that is split down the middle that's about to go to war with each other. So all you're doing at the moment, Ash, is lying down, finding yourself into a nice, comfortable position. So why is the Mahabharata such an important story? It's because it starts with a king. I'm not going to give you loads of names. You only really need to know Arjuna and Krishna. They're the only two you really need to know. But there was a wonderful king, Pandu, and he is the father of Arjuna. And Arjuna was one of 5 brothers. He was the middle of the brothers. And basically, the brothers weren't old enough to take over when their father, when the king dies, they're not old enough to take over from the kingdom. So the king's brother raises the 5 Pandava brothers they are. So he raises these 5 brothers ready to take over the kingdom. However, when the king's died, the king's brother, who's got charge of the kingdom while he's raising these 5 sons to take over the kingdom, because it's theirs, it's their kingdom, he's got 100 sons. And the eldest of the 100 sons is deadly jealous and can see how wonderful and how brave and these 5 brothers are very spiritual and they're meant to be taken over. It's their kingdom. He gets very jealous and basically he plots to kill them. And he goes about this on many, many different ways. The 5 brothers end up fleeing and they have to go into hiding, into exile. And this goes on for decades, that they never actually get to come back to try and get their kingdom back. They do at one point manage to get part of the kingdom. It's split in half. They get half of it. They build a wonderful place. They make it really, really good. But the son is still the evil son of the uncle, who's the king, still wants them all dead. So they end up going into exile again. They do everything they're meant to do in order to get the kingdom. And eventually it comes to the point where it's going to take a war. It's going to take a war between the Kuras, they're called, who are the bad ones. They want a dictatorship. They want to control everything. And then the Pandavas, who want it fair. It's their kingdom anyway. It was their father that was the king. It's meant to be theirs, but they've been put into exile. They've had murder attempts put on them, and they come to the realization that the only way they're going to get the kingdom back is to fight. And that's where the Bhagavad Gita starts. The Bhagavad Gita starts as these 2 warring parts of the family are going to come together and fight together. Krishna, who is the cousin of both sides, has said, I won't partake in this. I will not. They don't know he's an avatar. They don't know he's personification of God. And he says to them, I can help you, but the only way I will help you is you can either have me or you can have my army. Because his army is so wonderful and so strong and so brilliant, and nobody ever beats Krishna's army, the Kuras, the bad son, he takes the army. Arjuna says, I'll take you, Krishna. And so Krishna is Arjuna's charioteer when the battle starts. So the beginning of the Gita, this conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, you've got Arjuna, who has just said to Krishna, please take me to the center before we begin this battle, take me to the center. And before we begin our pranayama, this is what happens. This is Arjuna. Oh, Krishna, drive my chariot between the 2 armies. I want to see those who desire to fight with me, with whom this battle will be fought. I want to see those assembled to fight, those who seek to please the evil-minded son, which is the body, by engaging in war. Thus Arjuna spoke, and so Krishna, driving his splendid chariot between the 2 armies, Arjuna beholded all of the Kuras together. And Arjuna, standing between the 2 armies, saw fathers and grandfathers, teachers, uncles and brothers, sons and grandsons, in-laws and friends. Seeing his kinsmen established in opposition, Arjuna was overcome by sorrow. Despairing, he spoke these words. O Krishna, I see my own relations here anxious to fight, and my limbs grow weak. My mouth is dry, my body shakes, and my hair is standing on end. My skin burns, and my bow, Gandhar, has slipped from my hand. I am unable to stand. My mind seems to be whirling. These signs bode evil for us. I cannot see that any good can come from killing our relations in battle. And so Arjuna collapses. Arjuna has a panic attack. And Arjuna's panic attack in the Bhagavad Gita is describing when we have a crisis point in our life. So that is what the Bhagavad Gita is about. So bring your knees into your chest, and I just want you to have a little bit of a rock from side to side. Now that you've got the context of where the Gita comes in and why there's so much behind it. 15 times the Bible, the Mahabharata, this great epic. So come into a comfortable seated position. You can see why I can only scratch the surface. I can't even scratch the surface of it. So bring yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Have a little bit of a wriggle around. So we are going to be doing very, very gentle poses. But we're just going to begin with quite a calming breath, which I thought would be nice for us to do. So we're just going to do a couple of rounds of Brahmari. So that is the humming breath. All you're going to do is you're going to breathe in through your nose. When you exhale, you're just going to gently hum. That's all you're going to do. Brahmari is a very calming breath. It allows everything to soften and ease. It's very good if you've got to concentrate on anything. It's very good for the throat if you've got to do with talking or speaking anyway. So just take a moment here, relaxing the shoulders away from the ears, drawing the chin so it's level with the floor. Just taking a few deep breaths in. So Brahmari, if you've never done this before, all you're going to do is when you come to your exhalation is you're just going to hum with the mouth closed. Don't clench the teeth, just let it be really gentle. So I'm going to do this a few times myself so you can hear me. Doesn't matter how long your exhalation is. To strengthen this, you can, if you want, close your ears off with your thumbs, close your eyes off with your middle and index finger, close your nostrils off with your ring finger, and then imagine you're closing your mouth off with your little finger. So that is another way of just closing the 9 gates. It's called 9 gates, just to close off the senses. It intensifies the sound of the humming when you're doing it. Don't worry if it doesn't feel right. So you just close the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, and the mouth with the fingers, with the exhalation. As you come to your next exhalation, let this be the last of your Brahmari. Begin to release the hands if you use the hands as well. Open the eyes, and I just want you to bring the hands onto the knees. Just make sure that you're comfortable here. Any problems with crossing the knees, put your hands on your knees with the feet on the ground. That's absolutely fine. So just want you to start to gently lean back a little bit, stretching into the back. And then as you come forward, take a breath in, starting to arch into the back. Exhale again, chin into the chest and stretch over the back. So do that 2 more times, breathing in. Exhale, chin into the chest, exhale. Last time, breathing in into that gentle arch. Exhale, chin into the chest and stretching over the back. And then come back to the center. And I just want you to bring the left hands down towards that left-hand side. Raise the right arm up and over the head and just gently ease into a stretch down that right-hand side of the body. Keep the hand in the floor to prevent the left rib cage from dropping into the left hip. Come back to the center and you're going to twist now. Bring the left hand towards that right knee, right hand behind you. Breathe in to lift and just exhaling into a gentle twist. Taking a few deep breaths here. So we are going to move our way. We're not going to stay in them for ages, but we're going to move our way through some yin poses. And we're actually going to be doing yin for the kidneys, because the kidneys are very, very, very important, especially in times of fear, which of course we are very much in at the moment. Ease ourselves back to the center. Begin to drop the right fingertips down and bringing the left arm up and overhead. Coming again into that gentle stretch down the left-hand side of the body. Come back to the center, twisting this time towards your left, right hand to the left knee, left hand behind you. Breathe in to lift and exhaling to twist. Your kidneys are your constant source of your energy. And when there's an imbalance associated in the kidneys, it actually increases the level of fear in the body. But also, if you are subjected to fear an awful lot, then that imbalance is the key. So it works both ways in the kidneys, basically. And of course, if the kidneys are unbalanced, physically, we know that that creates high pressure, toxicity in the body, and all gives you no energy. But it also spiritually gives you a lack of personal power as well. Ease yourself back to the center. Just one last little bit of a warm up. I just want you to start doing a few Sufi grinds there. I'm just going to sweep forwards with that chin, going round a couple of times in both directions. It doesn't matter whether you started going in clockwise or anti-clockwise. So go round 3 times in both directions. If you want, closing the eyes down in the Sufi grind, keeping the hips on the floor, keeping the chin so it's level with the floor as well. Those just gentle rotations 3 times in both directions. Then when you're ready, ease yourself back to the center. And I just want you to start now to straighten into the legs and give the legs a little bit of a shape. So I'm going to start with butterfly. And in normal yoga, in Hatha yoga, this is known as tortoise, but in yin yoga is known as butterfly. So for this, you're just going to bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees drop out to the side. But before you start to come into this, just want you to adjust yourself. So maybe you want to slide your bum back and then walk forwards a little bit so you can feel that you're tilting forwards with the pelvis. Adjust the feet so the knees feel comfortable. If you've taken them too far forwards and it feels like there's a really deep pull on the back of the knees, bring them in a little bit closer. If you've got a bolster or anything like that, you can actually prop it onto the thighs, so it allows you to stay a little bit higher here. You're going to be in this probably about 2 minutes, so find what is right for you. If you can reach, palms of the hands are going to go either side of the feet, coming into a prayer position there, either side of the feet. Maybe you just want to rest the hands on the ankles and the forearms on the shins. If you're very flexible, you might want to go with the tortoise version. Hands are going to go under, and then backs of the hands can rest. Just allow the head to relax, allow the shoulders to relax, and find that position that is right for you. So as I've said, the Gita begins on this battlefield. And this battle has now involved the whole of India. And when Pandu, the great king, died, he never imagined, he was a good king, and he knew his sons were going to become good kings. And he certainly knew his eldest son, who was called Yudhisthira. Yudhisthira was a very wise and a very spiritual person, and he was going to be the perfect king. However, of course, because they weren't old enough, and so his brother's taken over, and that's how the evil has come into it. But we are talking the same family here. So these sons, these 100 sons of the uncle, who's now the king, and the 5 Pandava brothers, they were all raised together. They all had the same teachers. They all had the same friends. So these are cousins who've been raised as a family, but half of them are particularly evil, especially the eldest, who's the one who keeps trying to kill the Pandavas. And Arjuna is the middle brother. He is the warrior. He is the real strong one of the family. And here he is now on the battlefield, and he's had a panic attack at the biggest crisis point of his life, where he is going to save the Pandavas. He's going to save the entire population of India from this evil dictatorship. And what's he done? He's collapsed. He's collapsed in a panic attack. And that is quite often what happens. It's a crisis point. The Bhagavad Gita is a point of crisis where whether it be God, whether it be the source, whether it be the universe that you believe in, or nature, it doesn't really matter. It's at the point where you go, oh my God, what do I do now? I am lost. I am broken. I don't understand myself. I can't do this. I cannot go on. I would rather be dead. And that is the point where Krishna gives him the answers as to how to live a good life. So it is the point of wisdom. It is the point where you get the divine wisdom. Bhagavad Gita is the divine wisdom of God. Take a deep breath in and exhale fully through the mouth with a sigh. And then very carefully, I just want you to begin to ease your way back. Just gently bring yourself back there. And I want you to bring the hands behind you and just bring the soles of the feet on to the floor. And I want you just to very gently drop those knees in from side to side. I must admit, tortoise is butterfly is one of my favorite poses. If I put my head up, I can literally fall asleep in it. I'll be honest with you. So just gentle rocks from side to side. Now we're going to come into a pose that I can safely say not everybody is going to particularly like this. So I need you to be very, very careful with this. And we're going to do this in halves because it's quite a strong pose. It's known as hero in hatha, but it's known in yin as saddle pose. You're going to take this right foot and you're going to bring it behind you. Now, if you've got very tight muscles down the front of the thighs, you're already probably going to be cursing me. If so, you can always sit up on top of something. That will make it considerably easier. Or if you're thinking even that is too much for you, lean slightly to the side and just gently bring that foot in. So choose what feels right for you. If sitting back on it is too much for you, you need to be really, really careful with it. If you're thinking what she's talking about, that doesn't hurt whatsoever, drop yourself back onto your elbows. Unless you are exceptionally flexible, you can lie the body down, but it takes it into quite a strong backward bend. So be very aware and make sure that the foot isn't sticking out like this. Do make sure those toes are tucked under. If you played football an awful lot in your life, you will probably find this quite difficult, which is why you might need to sit on something. So be very, very aware. And if you prefer to just have that leaning back into it, gently pressing the knee down, that will do enough for you. This is why we're only going to spend a minute in either side, because this is quite a strong one to do. So the Bhagavad Gita is 18 chapters. And it's pretty much divided into 3 sections of 6 chapters. The first 6 chapters are very much about Arjuna talking about how he feels, and it's Krishna trying to explain to him what happened, how to live your life if you find that you are losing this loss of identity. And I've watched so many videos, I've read the book obviously, and the best way to describe this is that the first 6 chapters is about your soul within your own world. So how your soul deals with being within the world and the circumstances in which you are living in. Now take a deep breath in and exhale, ease yourself back and just release that and give those legs a little bit of a shake before we come on to the other side. Obviously, you're going to find completely different on both sides. So again, if you need to sit up, sit on something, see how this other side feels. Begin to bring this left foot behind you. And again, make sure that the top of the foot is on the floor. You don't want the foot sticking out to the side because that is not good for the knee. That can damage the knee. So again, see how that feels. If that's not too bad there, start to lean back into it. If you're exceptionally flexible, you can lie down on the floor. I used to be able to do that, but now my knees are getting old. With me getting older, I have to understand that this is a physical body and that I must not take my physical body into anything that is too hard. So again, close the eyes down and find what is right there for you. So the Gita, here we've got Arjuna. He's had a panic attack. He's dropped Gandhar, and Gandhar is his bow, and his bow represents power. It represents everything to do with your own pride and strength. And he's literally dropped the thing on the floor. He can't even pick it up. He's on his knees and he cannot face the struggles that are coming in his life. And these first 6 chapters are about your struggle. You're on your own battlefield. It's about your loss of identity, the struggles that you face in life. And when you just find the point where you can't understand the answers, you don't know what it is that you are meant to be doing. And Krishna says to him, but this is your duty. You are a warrior, and it is your duty to be here on the battlefield. This is what you were born and meant to do. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Slowly ease yourself back to the center. Let that leg go. And again, just give those legs a little bit of a shake there. I'm going to bring ourselves around now. I want you to come up onto your hands and onto your knees. So I'm making sure I can actually see my books. So bring the hands directly underneath the shoulders and start to walk the toes towards the back of the mat. Hands again, making sure that you are on all fours, that you're comfortable here. So just drop the waist down, breathing in, take a deep breath. Exhale, tuck the chin into the chest and stretching up and over the spine. So just do that 2 more times. It's always good to bring in a little bit of yang in between yin poses. Breathe in. And exhale as you stretch. And then now I want you just to very, very gently begin to drop yourself down onto the front of your belly. So you're going to come into Sphinx pose. Any issues with your lower back, I want you to make pillows with the hands, rest the forehead onto the hands, and allow yourself to rest here, because this is just as much of a backward bend. You're okay coming into your Sphinx pose. You're going to bring your elbows onto the floor, walk them around until you feel as if you can let the chest sink down. So if you're having to really push the elbows into the floor to keep that chest lifted, you need to move them and adjust them. If they're too far out, you're going to feel like you're collapsing. If they're too far in, they're probably going to be touching. So adjust them around until they feel comfortable, that you can let the upper body sink. Let the shoulder blades squeeze towards each other. And then just bring the hands into a prayer position. Of course, if you want, let your head drop. Any point that becomes too much for you, drop your head back down on to the backs of the hands. And gentle breaths into your Sphinx pose. Krishna explains to Arjuna that we all get wrapped up in the world, and that our senses are literally our senses, our taste, our smell, our sight. It constantly draws us into this world of wanting more. And we've seen this, haven't we, for decades? We've seen it in the world. Everything's become very visual. Even everything on the news, not on the news, everything on Instagram, all these things, it's all filtered. We're now no longer seeing the real thing, are we? Our senses are tricking us constantly into thinking that this is the world, but it's almost becoming like an illusion now. And Krishna says that these senses are making us want things all of the time. And what we have to start learning how to do is we need to detach ourselves from the senses, because anything that comes to you from your senses creates desire and greed, and all of those things are no good for you. When the senses contact sense objects, a person experiences cold or heat, pleasure or pain. These experiences are fleeting, they come and they go. Bear them patiently, Arjuna. Those who are unaffected by these changes, who are the same in pleasure and pain, are truly wise and fit for immortality. Assert your strength and realize this. It is a wisdom. He is coming out and he is saying that when we desire too much, when everything that we do, we look at the end of everything that we're doing, right? I'm going to do that job because I'm going to make that much money from it. I'm going to do this because I'm going to get that out of it. He's saying, do whatever it is that you have to do. Do your duty. Do whatever it is you have to do without focusing on the fruits of the labor. Focus on the action of what it is that you're doing. And that is what he is offering Arjuna. And it's actually referred to as karma yoga. He offers him 3 paths, all of which are yogas. And this first path is karma yoga. But he also speaks about what's known as dharma, and dharma is your duty. He said that to Arjuna. It is your duty. You are a warrior. You are not meant to be hiding in exile in the forests. It is your duty to be here and fight and battle against these evil people. And it doesn't matter whether you go into battle. The battle's already happened. They're already dead. The battle has already been won by good. But it is better for you to go and do your duty and not do it well than it is for you to go and do something that is the duty of somebody else and do it perfectly. You are better doing what you were meant to do and not do it well than to do what belongs to somebody else. Dharma, duty, is a huge thing in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to take a deep breath in. And slowly exhale and gently let yourself ease down. And I just want you again to rest the forehead onto the arms or onto the hands, and just a little bit of a shake from side to side with the hips. So we're going to start coming into the flapping fish just to soften out from the back, because that is quite a strong backward bend. You need to slide that left hand so it's coming down to the left hand side of the chest, and just push the left hand into the floor and slide that left knee up. Elbow might drop down towards it, but it doesn't matter whether it does. Just make sure that you are comfortable here. Maybe the right side of the head will rest on the floor. And gentle breaths as you come into your flapping fish, allowing yourself just to ease and soften out from that backward bend. We're going to be here for about a minute. So it's Arjuna's duty to battle evil. And when I came back from India, having done yoga and psychology in India to learn about the Gita, I came back realizing that I didn't want to teach. I wanted to teach a bit of yoga, but what I really wanted to do was take myself off metaphorically into the forest, write books, write poetry, and have a nice, gentle, easy kind of life. That my first poem I actually wrote was 11 years ago. So I know I've written the book, the breast cancer book, but I actually was writing a long time ago. And that was I just wanted to not have to be teaching all of the time because it drained me so much. And that was the realization when I came back from India, was that my duty is as a teacher. Always has been, always will be. I can get around it any way I can, and I can find easier, gentle ways of teaching. Even if I do it through other spiritual means, I'm still teaching. That's my duty. It's what I was born to do. And it was that realization studying the Gita when I realized what my duty and what my role in this lifetime, whether it's one or more, is irrelevant. That's what I was meant to do. And take a deep breath in. And slowly exhale. Begin to ease and straighten back into those legs. And just a little bit of a rock from side to side if you come on to the other side. Begin to bring that right hand to the right side of the chest. Push the hand into the floor. And again, begin to bring that right knee up. Right elbow down towards the right elbow, and just let yourself resting on the other side for a minute on this side, just easing and softening back into that back. It is always better to know yourself and that's quite a difficult thing, especially in current times. And the loss of identity, which is what the first 6 chapters is about. Arjuna has lost sight of his own identity. He is that consumed by fear and thinking he's about to do something wrong, because he's about to be in a battle where he's killing the people that he grew up with. And Krishna, is trying to explain that sometimes in our life, we have to do something that is quite difficult in order for us to stand up and say, this is what I believe in. This is what I believe to be right. And I find personally, I can see darkness where there's light, and I can see light where there's darkness. And other people might be able to find that difficult to understand that within me. And that's because it's the wholeness. There's pleasure and pain everywhere. There's darkness and there's light everywhere. We have darkness and lightness within us in immense amounts. And it's how we learn to deal with that that's the important thing. And how we learn to make good of ourselves if the darkness starts to take over. Take a deep breath in. And exhale very carefully. Begin to ease yourself back. So you're going to bring your hands out the side of the chest and very carefully just begin to ease yourself back up onto your hands and onto your knees. Bring those knees directly again underneath. Just bring the hands back underneath the shoulders and give yourself a really nice deep stretch. Come back to the center. We're going to straighten our legs out. So bringing those legs, give those legs a really good. So we're going to come now into full forward fold. So if you do have a bolster, if you've got blocks, anything like that, you can, of course, put the bolster underneath the knees. It makes it much easier. If you've got any issues in your back, bulging discs, put the soles of the feet on the floor. So as you come into your pose, you can just allow yourself to fold with the knees nice and high. That means the knees and thighs are going to come into the chest. So find what is right for you. If you're very flexible, straighten the legs out. Catch hold of the toes, but find what feels good for you. I always prefer the bent knee version. And if you've got the bent knees, of course, you can let the chin drop down towards the knees and just let the shoulders relax. Hands are resting on the ankles or grasping hold of the toes if that feels right. And Krishna says to him, that in Karma Yoga, there is an action. You are performing an action when you are finding your truth and you're finding God, or you're finding the source, your connection to the universe through Karma Yoga, through action. It's action without expectation. And that is what's so important. You are giving without wanting something in return. And that's quite a difficult thing to get your head around, because we all do something. Every time I plan a class, every time I think I'm going to do Sunday morning yoga, I remind myself that I will give as much effort to it. I will plan as much time doing this, whether I have one person, whether I have 10 people. It is irrelevant what I get from it. It is what I put in and offer out that counts. And that is what most people find quite difficult to understand, because we've all got to live, haven't we? We've all got to make money. We've all got to be able to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, be warm and safe. But do you really need as much as you've got? That's the question, isn't it? And Krishna says to Arjuna, you are more than this physical body. You are a spiritual being in a physical world. Look more to your spirituality. Wear this lifetime as a coat that you're going to discard. It is what you bring to the world that counts. Like a drop in the ocean, the ripples of your actions will speak volumes and will spread across the world. Gentle breaths. You take a deep breath in and slowly exhale, ease your way back to the center. Bring the hands behind, and I just want you to straighten into the legs, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and just a gentle drop back of the head. Now we're going to come into a slightly different variation of the forward bend. We're going to come into the wide angle forward bend. So I want you to start to straighten into the legs and push the heels away. So you're going to adjust yourself till that feels okay. Now, of course, if you're not good again with allowing the back to fold, which it can collapse when you're in a yoga, doing yin yoga, bring the soles of the feet onto the floor. Remember, bulging discs, herniated discs, always keep the back flat. If you've got anything, bolster, block, or anything like that, rest the elbows on it. Again, close the eyes down, let the shoulders relax, and just take gentle, deep breaths. So these conversations that go on, they are only in this particular conversation. It's only in the first 6 sections. I've talked about this part of this soul in the world. And Krishna says, even though you are a spiritual being in a physical body that can be discarded when death comes, that comes to us all, you have to act within it. You cannot detach yourself from the world. You are in it. But he understands that karma yoga, the yoga of action, doesn't suit everybody. So there is another path to realization, which is known as jnana yoga, which is the yoga of wisdom and knowledge. And you gain that through meditation, through study. And so Krishna offers Arjuna these 2 paths in these first 6 chapters. The path of the jnana yoga, which is the path of wisdom and knowledge, or the path of the karma yoga, which is the path of action, your job. And he says that you can retain peace and spiritual bliss through this, but if it's karma yoga, that it must be selfless service without attachment to the results. And that in our modern world, well, I think we can safely say that that's gone a little bit out of control, hasn't it? Maybe this crisis point that we are in right now is exactly what the world needs. And maybe actually we are all right now in the middle of this battle. Is the materialistic world, the materialism of it, is that the curse? Is that the side of evil? But there is so much good in the world. And it is that we search for and look for. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale, ease your way. And begin to bring those legs in. Big eight legs in. Give those legs a little bit of a shake. And then we're going to come on to our back. So we're going to come on to spinal line twist. I'm going to give you the option where you bring the arm up and around the head and turn the head in towards the elbow. So this is like the cradle version. This is, but if it doesn't feel right, just extend the arm out to the side. So bring yourself down onto the floor, bring the soles of the feet together, bring the knees together, bring the feet together, hands either side of the hips. Lift your bum up and slide your bum over towards the right. Come up onto the toes, and if you can, walk the toes a little closer to the body, and then let the knees drop down. Remember, if the knees won't drop all the way down to the floor, prop them up to make that feel comfortable. Adjust until both shoulders are comfortable on the floor. Maybe the knees need to be a little bit straighter. Maybe they need to be closer towards the body to make the actual twist itself a lot stronger. Find what feels right for you. Left hand on the outside of the right thigh if it will reach, or on the right knee, or just rest it on the floor or on the belly. Again, cradle the arm with the other, cradle the head with the other arm if that feels okay, or extend the arm out. You're going to be in this for about 2 minutes, so make sure that that feels comfortable for you. So then, as we move to the chapters 7 to 12, we move to the best way to describe it is the mystery of God. It's Krishna reveals himself as God. He reveals himself as the source of everything. He says to Arjuna, I am everything. I am all of time, all of space, all of consciousness. I am the source of everything. And when he reveals himself, what Krishna shows to Arjuna terrifies Arjuna. Behold, Arjuna, a million divine forms with an infinite variety of color and shape. Behold, the gods of the natural world and many more wonders never revealed before. Behold, the entire cosmos turning within my body and other things you desire to see. But these things cannot be seen with your physical eyes. Therefore, I give you the spiritual vision to perceive my majestic power. And when he shows himself as all of time and space. And it is completely overwhelming for Arjuna. He cannot deal with this. And he eventually says to Krishna, I can't see you in this form. Please show me the form of my cousin Krishna, of the kind and gentle person that I know. If we were to see the world, the universe, God, all of time and space, all in one moment in time, we would realize how insignificant we were. And that is quite a terrifying thing. But we are not insignificant. And this was a time in my life when, just for one brief second in time, I had a very, very strange experience. Now take a deep breath in. And exhale, gently ease yourself back to the center. Bring the hands out the side of the hips. Recenter the hips. Bring the feet and the knees back together again. Hands out the side of the hips, ready to come to the other side. Lift your bum up and slide your bum over towards the left. And again, you're going to bring those knees over towards the right, prop them up. If they won't come all the way to the floor and your shoulder starts to roll off, straighten them if they need to be a little bit straighter. Draw them closer to the body if they need to be closer. Maybe that hand will rest on the thigh, maybe it won't. And again, cradle the arm around the head, only if that feels okay, or extend it out. For me, because of the rotator cuff, I have to extend it out or place it on my belly, so always adjust. I had a dream probably about 9 years ago, if not a little bit more. I think it was actually I think it's about 10 years ago. And it was at the crisis point in my life. I was on the battlefield. I had just had my major breakdown and I had lost all identity in myself altogether. And I had a dream. And in that dream, I floated up into the universe. And I saw, for a brief moment in time, it was like a spider's web is the only way I can describe it. I saw everything in time, in space, every person that had ever been, that were going to come, every moment in time of everybody's personal lives. And I saw it as a spider's web of connections with everything and how everything connected to everything else ever that was in existence before, to come, and now. And it was overwhelming. But it made me realize that I was the tiniest speck within this infinite world. And Krishna is saying to him, look at me, this is what I am. I am the wonder of God. But that you have a place within this. And if you struggle with your karma yoga, if you struggle with your jnana yoga and your meditation, then show me love. And it's known as bhakti yoga. And he says, anything given to the source, anything to that wonder of what we're a part of that is bigger than us. Even offering a flower will send you on the path of peace and bliss and love. So he offers Krishna bhakti yoga, which is bhakti yoga is the path of devotion. It's the path of love. And it doesn't matter whether you do big rituals to offer your love to the universe, to the world, to nature, Mother Nature. It can be the tiniest thing that you offer, even a smile. And Krishna says, you offer that. You offer that spirit of love and compassion, and I will protect you. You take a deep breath in and exhale, gently ease yourself back to the center. I just want you to take a moment now, just bringing the soles of the feet towards the sides of the mat and let the knees drop in towards each other and just let the hands for a moment rest on the body. And if you want, you can just gently rock those knees from side to side in your windscreen washers before we come to the last of our poses. So we're going to come into Happy Baby, and we're going to be in Happy Baby for a couple of moments here, because I think it's always nice to take ourselves back to the beginning, isn't it? In yoga, they believe that you are just wearing one lifetime and that you will keep coming back over and over again. And this karma, that we're used to the word karma, and that karma keeps coming back with you. And if you really muck up in this lifetime, that everything that you created that was wrong is going to come with you into the next life. And the only way that you can rid yourself of all of this karma that you carry with you is from selfless service, of true karma yoga, of jnana yoga, of the devotion, of the wisdom and the knowledge and the meditation, or of bhakti yoga, of the yoga of love and devotion. I begin to bring those knees in and just gently bring the hands to the inside. You can either come into your Happy Baby, you're going to drop that out and allow yourself to stay here. But if you can, you're going to lift the head and shoulders up. You're going to reach, catch hold of the soles of these feet and hold the ceiling up with the soles of the feet. And again, if the head's dropping back too far, drop the heels in or prop the head up. Make sure that that feels comfortable for you. Remember, you can come into the easy version where you just hold onto the back of the thighs. So in the last of the chapters, Krishna actually describes our lives as a field. And I quite like this one. And I suppose the last 6 chapters are like a journey. It's on how we can get lost within our journey. And Krishna says to Arjuna, the body is called a field, Arjuna. The one who knows it is called the knower of the field. This is the knowledge of those who know. I am the knower of the field in everyone, Arjuna. Krishna is saying, I am God within you. You are divine being because I am within you. Knowledge of the field and its knower is true knowledge. He is saying that you are a divine self in this world. The field is the world. But you are more than that. You are divinity within that field. And you detach yourself from the fruits of the labors of that field. And only then will you understand true peace, true love and understanding. When we meet those people who've experienced terrible sorrow and pain, anguish, and yet they still have the smile. They still have a serenity of peace within them. They have discovered the Jnana Yoga, the Karma Yoga, and the Bhakti Yoga, and yet they could be atheists. They could believe in no gods whatsoever. They could believe in only in this one life. So it doesn't matter what you believe. That's irrelevant. It's how you behave within the lifetime that you are in right now that is the important thing. But Krishna warns us in the last of the 6 chapters. He warns us of the gunas, and the gunas, I've mentioned the gunas before. They are sattva, which is purity and goodness. They are the rajas, which is the passion and greed, and they are the tamas, which is the ignorance and the darkness. And Krishna warns us against these, because these are the gunas, they're the things that are going to keep us trapped in this materialistic world. So just gently start allowing yourself to rock from side to side. And so there is so much in the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, as you can imagine, I've literally only just started to scratch the surface of it. It's something that you really truly need to go and watch yourself. Go to YouTube and watch the videos on this. They are amazing. Slowly begin to release those feet out, and we're going to spend just the remaining minute or so in a pentacle. So begin to straighten the legs out and extend the arms out to the sides. And the Gita does at one point actually mention the elements. It mentions now the pentacle pose shows us as a pentagram, and we have the 2 elements at the bottom of the feet, which is earth and fire, and then we have the hands representing water and air, and then we have the head representing spirit. And Krishna is saying to us, there are 2 natures in the world. There is the godly and there is the ungodly. There is the good and there is the bad. And that we need to recognize the good from the bad. And the darkness, the bad, the doors to those are quite easy to recognize. They are anger, they are greed, and they are lust. And Krishna says, avoid them. Avoid them at all costs. If you avoid those 3 doors to darkness, you're already on the right path. But what I really noticed when I was returning to this was sattva, which is the purity. Even the things you eat affect the gunas within you, because we all have these gunas within us. Fiery temperaments, lazy temperaments. If you're a lazy temperament, then you've got too much tamas in you. If you're a fiery temperament, you've probably got too much of the rajas in you. The purity is sattva and goodness, but we actually want to rise ourselves above all 3 to find God, to find the purity beyond, to find your own spiritual self. Now begin to bring yourself now into a comfortable position for Shavasana. And I have no doubt I've probably just blown your mind with just a few tiny insights into the Bhagavad Gita. A deep breath in and exhale fully through the mouth with the sound. Krishna says, those who know truly are free from pride and deceit. They are gentle, forgiving, upright and pure, devoted to their spiritual teacher, filled with inner strength and self-control. They are detached from sense objects and from self-will. They have learned the painful lesson of separate birth and suffering, old age, disease, and death. But they are free from selfish attachment. They do not compulsively get entangled even in home and family. They are even-minded throughout both good fortune and bad. I want you just to allow the whole of the body to relax into the mat. Gentle breath. And as I begin to take a journey around your body and naming the parts of the body, I want you to picture at each of these parts of the body a lotus flower. A lotus flower that has risen and grown with its roots safely rooted in the mud, giving it its nutrients, but it has grown through these muddy and dark waters of the attachments of lust, of greed, of anger, and it has come out above that to find the light, to find the sun. And it makes sure those petals are never touched, even though it lives in this world. Its petals remain untouched by the darkness of avidya, of anger, lust, and greed. Bring your awareness to the space between the eyebrows. And in this place, imagine a lotus flower of any color you wish, any amount of petals you wish, any size. Place that lotus flower in the space between the eyebrows. Let the awareness move down to the throat. Again, here, place a lotus flower over to the right shoulder, a lotus flower. The inside of the right elbow, a lotus flower. The inside of the right wrist, a lotus flower. To the palm of the right hand, a lotus flower. Imagining the tips of the thumb and the fingers, a lotus flower at each point. Now allow your awareness to move back up over the right arm, past the elbow and the shoulder, back to the throat. To the left shoulder, a lotus flower. To the inside of the left elbow, a lotus flower. To the inside of the left wrist, a lotus flower. The palm of the left hand, a lotus flower. To the tip of the left thumb and tips of the fingers, a lotus flower at each point. Allow the awareness to move back over the left arm, past the elbow and shoulder to the throat. Moving to the heart center, a lotus flower. Into the solar plexus, a lotus flower. Imagining in the pelvis, a lotus flower. To the right hip, a lotus. To the right knee, a lotus flower. The inside of the right ankle, a lotus flower. top of the right foot, a lotus. At the tips of the toes, a lotus flower at each point. Allow your awareness to move back over the foot, ankle, knee, hip, back to the pelvis, to the left hip, placing a lotus flower. The left knee, a lotus flower. To the inside of the left ankle, a lotus flower. The top of the left foot, a lotus flower. To the tips of each of the toes, a lotus flower. Moving your awareness again back over the left leg, back to the hip, back through the solar plexus, heart, the throat, and back to the space between the eyebrows. And I want you to pause here in this space. We have here path of jnana yoga, the path of wisdom and knowledge. How do we achieve this? We meditate and we study. Let your awareness move down now to the solar plexus, the place that gives us our power and our action. We have here the path of karma yoga, what we do, the action that we take without emphasis on the fruits of our labor, to care only for the action itself and not for the fruits. Our duty, our dharma. And then finally let your awareness move into the heart center, to Bhakti yoga, to the yoga of devotion and love. Krishna says, if all else fails, surrender. Surrender by loving the source. Surrender yourself to understanding that everything that happens always happens for a reason. To love unconditionally, whatever it is. At the end of the Mahabharata, when the battle is ended and Yudhishthira, Arjuna's elder brother, became king, he reigned and ruled the kingdom for 36 years. And then him and his brothers and their wife made the great journey to heaven. One by one, as they neared to heaven and the gates of heaven, each of the brothers died, and their wife, until finally there was only Yudhishthira left, and a dog had joined him on the journey. And as each of his brothers and wife had died, the dog had stayed by his side the entire time. as he reached the gates of heaven, he was told, you cannot enter heaven with the dog. You can enter, but the dog doesn't. And Yudhisthira said, I will not enter heaven unless you allow me to bring my dog with me, because I will not abandon any creature that is asking me for protection. And with that, the dog transforms itself into the god of duty himself. And so Yudhisthira is allowed to enter heaven. But when he enters heaven, he immediately is shown this beautiful place of heaven, and it's filled with his enemies. It's filled with the Kuras and all of the people he fought all of those decades ago. And he says to God, where is my family? And he is taken to hell, to this place of despair and eternal suffering. And he says, I would rather stay here with them, because anywhere that they are is heaven to me. And with that, hell and heaven fade away, and all is revealed as a perfect place of being. And he has found the true source. And that is the message of the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata. We learn to understand ourselves. We learn our duty, and we surrender. And we focus on love and devotion if the other paths don't suit us. But we always remain true to what we believe in. Whether it brings us pleasure or whether it brings us pain. Take a deep breath in and exhale fully through the mouth with a sigh. And when you are ready, gently begin to rock from side to side. Put the knees in, do whatever it is that is right for you. And when you are ready, bring yourself back up into a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands into a prayer position at the heart and just slightly drop your head. So, the Song of the Lord. So the Bhagavad Gita is a discussion between the source. It doesn't really matter whether you believe in God or not. It is the source of everything. It is the universe that is speaking to Arjuna at his point in crisis where he is falling apart. And what struck me when I was returning to this was what he says in the last chapters when he talks about the rajas, the power and the greed, and he talks about tamas, which is the ignorance and the laziness, and the sattva, which is the purity. Well, I've realized that we've been in a world, haven't we, of too much rajistic world, greed, power, wanting everything. And when we were placed in lockdown, for many of us, forced us into a tamasic life. We became lazy, didn't we? Sometimes, not all of us, but a lot of people were forced into that darkness, into that depression, into that really going down deep into quite difficult places. And maybe we need to experience both in order to be able to find the sattva, the balance and the purity and the goodness before we can rise above even from that. So please go read the Gita. Namaste, everybody. So before I go, so this is my version to Bhagavad Gita. This is one of the most highly recommended ones to read. It takes about 2 hours to read it, but you might want to do it in sections. I found reading it all the way through from beginning to end, I really struggle with the last 6 chapters, and I'm only just getting my head around them now. And I studied it in 2015, so it's something you have to keep coming back to. I would highly recommend going to YouTube and looking in for the Mahabharata. If you put in MAHAB, it's going to start coming up, Mahabharata. And get your head around the Mahabharata and where the Bhagavad Gita sits in, for you to appreciate why it's such a crisis point for Arjuna, for him to have collapsed and had a panic attack the way he did before he's about to fight. So highly suggest going to YouTube. You're going to find loads of versions of it. You're going to find Bhagavad Gita in 3 minutes, in 10 minutes. You're going to find Mahabharata in 15 minutes, which is actually a really good one to watch. And then go to Yoga Point and go looking for Gandhar, who is my teacher, who I studied the Bhagavad Gita with. And he does, I'll send in the link with the email of the class. I'll send the link to the first, and he does 3, I think it is, 3 precursors to the Bhagavad Gita, talking about Mahabharata and what it is that happens as to what gets you to the Bhagavad Gita. And then he talks through the Bhagavad Gita and explains what each of the chapters mean. So we'll read.